This is not diplomacy. This is the Happy Meal drive-through of diplomatic efforts. There's no plan. Let's just begin with that. 28, 29, 22, 19, I don't know how many points. This is a brainstorming session. Hey, let's think of a couple things that we can put on this paper. What things we could do for this? Okay. Hey, let's have an amnesty. Let's have this. Let's have that. So you get this brainstorm 28 points. That's not a plan to begin with. It's just a bunch of semi-related points. 4 documents, 5 documents. Who knows how many documents? Diplomacy takes effort. Diplomacy takes getting to the root causes of issues. And figure out those root causes are, why they started, how do we go around them. That's diplomacy. Just for the Americans, the Korean armistice, the Korean War never ended, but thankfully we've had 70 years of armistice. The Korean armistice and the end of hostilities took 2 years to negotiate. The Vietnam War and the American exit out of the Vietnam War took 7 years to negotiate. Combat didn't stop. Combat here isn't going to stop. The problem, of course, for the West is whatever leverage they have as far as these demilitarized Donetsk Oblast or giving up portions of Zaporozhye and Kherson are based on 2 big problems. One, they're based on a fallacy that Vladimir Vladimirovich is some kind of dictator that can just do whatever he wants. He's not. First of all, he's a lawyer. Let's just begin with that. He's extremely legalistic. He has a constitution, and the constitution forbids black and white. Read the Russian constitution, ladies and gentlemen of the unelected European government. The black and white. You cannot give up a single square centimeter of Russian territory. End of story. It's impeachable offense. That's it. It's not going to be given up. Demilitarizing Donetsk Oblast or something like that. Well, for what? For a criminal hellhole where you can bring in any amount of terrorists and shoot things across the border and what have you. It's obvious that's what it's going to be. No, it's not going to happen. He can't. He's not legally allowed to do that. He won't do that. So what do you do now? The other problem is whatever that even leverage is, it's evaporating at least 12 kilometers a day, square kilometers a day, and it's accelerating the evaporation. What do you do when Gulay Polya falls and half of Zaporozhye province is still in Ukrainian hands, is collapsing on the spot, and you've got just Zaporozhye city? The Russian army is going to stop at that? Of course it's not going to stop at that. We can pull this negotiation for another week and take the city while we're at it. And so on. And then what becomes? Well, it becomes that those territories are all in Russian hands. Odessa's cut off. Nikolaev's cut off. Poltova's cut off. Kherson's cut off, Chernigov was cut off, Sumi's cut off, and the Russian army sitting on the on eastern Kiev, on the eastern bank of the Dnieper. And now what? At this point, sooner or later, you're looking at a total collapse of the government. And believe you me, the moment that government goes, the Slovaks, the Hungarians, the Poles, the Romanians, the Moldovans, and the Belarus are all going to take back a chunk of their land that makes up Western Ukraine. Nobody's forgotten what's theirs. That's a Frankenstein entity created by Lenin and then added onto by Stalin. Nobody's forgotten what's theirs. They're all going to come back for that pound of flesh plus percentages, big percentages. So, they may not call it. The Hungarians in Zakarpattia have already had a referendum to join Hungary. Hungary just hasn't accepted the referendum yet, but the referendum's already there. The Poles may walk into a protectorate. Well, you can call it whatever you want to, but it's going to be what? It's going to be Polish territory. Same with the Slovaks, same with the Romanians. Everybody's going to go. It's going to be a land grab in every single direction. So, it's interesting days ahead, or interesting months, maybe year and a half. So for the West, it's very important to get the Poles fighting, because then they can't just take back their old territories and go, okay, thanks, Russians are over there, we're over here, we got ours. Okay, let's have peace. That's the last thing you want, peace breaking out. So if you can get the Poles in there actively fighting, or the Romanians actually fighting, then that muddies the waters quite a bit. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, well, look, a strange thing though with the whole diplomatic process is if you're sitting in Brussels and you would like to, you see the situation getting worse and worse, you know that you can't negotiate a peace overnight. As you said, it's a long process. It can take
Yeah.
years while the fighting goes on. But nonetheless, they still know this. Nobody wants to talk to Moscow, but at the same time, they want an immediate stop to the war. That is ceasefire. That is no more hostility. So, no talking, but end the war right away. This is the whole process, the whole diplomatic process. If we had talked for the past 4 years, at least we might have a foundation for a common understanding. There could have been something, but this obsession with like girls in the schoolyard that we know we have to freeze out Moscow. This is the whole diplomatic process is gone, and now there's no one there to save the situation. It's really diplomacy, or couldn't be more of a spectacular failure. And this is, in these days when everyone has to be, whatever they say, they have to be labeled pro this or pro that. I mean, this would have been beneficial for everyone to have some talk going, just to, yeah, have a starting point for some common security. But no, there's really nothing. It's quite extraordinary that this actually was allowed to happen. But yeah, here we are. So any
Well,
final thoughts before we
yeah,
wrap up?
I would go to say as far as to say, forget just these 3 years, these 4 years. If there had been actual, real conversation instead of Western moralizing and lecture morality, virtue signaling lectures, there'd actually been a moral framework back in 1948. None of this would have happened. I mean, look, as NATO was being formed up, and if it was established in 1949, 1948, Stalin asked to join NATO for a European security pact. For God's sakes, the whole Cold War didn't have to happen. We could have, can you imagine Europe's trajectory if in 1948 we had a common security pact across all from edge to edge? What reality would be right now? What Europe could have reached back, even if we start, instead of all the effort that was wasted on the Cold War and the proxy wars around it. 1948, and by the way, that would have also maybe it would have moderated out the Soviet Union too. While we're at, yeah, who knows where we'd be at right now? Probably maybe sitting on the moon. Uh, but I mean, reality, how much effort and resources were wasted. 1992, Yeltsin asked to join NATO. In 2000, Putin asked to join NATO. 2021, Putin proposes direct talks on a European security pact and infrastructure. And we're at war now. I mean, just missed opportunities, one after another, just ignored. Ignored, just the opposite done. For the last 80 years.
Oh, you could have added the 1994, the OSCE could have been the central security institution. The 2008, Medvedev's proposal for a pan-European security architecture. The 2010 EU-Russia union. I mean, there's been a lot of proposals coming out of Moscow, but then...
I'll add you one. Excuse me for interrupting. I'll add you one. Who was the first one to propose the League of Nations in Helsinki? Nicholas II. So going back to Imperial Russia, they were trying to set up a European infrastructure to avoid the wars, avoid World War I that destroyed most of Europe. World War I could have been avoided. Russia's been pushing and proposing for the last, if we really look at it, for the last 140 years to set something up. It's insane when you really start looking at history. And what has Russia been portrayed as by the West? The enemy, the horde, the evil. Here the guys are trying to keep Europe from butchering each other in itself. But Europe seems to be very intent on butchering somebody. Somebody has to get butchered. Otherwise, the only thing that can combine Europe into any kind of organization is let's go have fun butchering somebody or each other. I mean, it's insane. But for Christ's sakes, how much this whole last century, the golden age of Europe could have the destruction of the golden age of Europe that started in 1914 could have been avoided. All of this could have been avoided. The last 140 years of history could have been changed.
Yeah, I keep thinking if I make the point now that always that the best thing Europe can do now that America is going other places is for Europe to end the dividing lines in Europe and make peace with Russia. But of course, that's a very difficult sell these days. But often the feedback you would get would be, well, we can't we have to stand with Ukraine. But this is what destroyed Ukraine. I mean, if we wouldn't have made a front line out of them, Ukraine could have prospered as a bridge between Russia and the EU. I mean, it could have been. It's just no. It's it's very depressing to see how this was played out. But again,
Yeah.
this is the problem when you have the same politicians in power. It's only double down, and no matter how bad it goes. So perhaps we just need some new blood, some new thinking. Anyway,
An IQ test. An IQ test before they get in. At least a history economics test. Do you understand economics?
well, as I mentioned before, now new thinking is sanctioned. So this is this is the new state of the freedom in the EU. This is quite. I mean, the pushback against Trump's or the U.S. new national security strategy, the way they refer to Europe as authoritarian. I mean, I guess now they proved him wrong by sanctioning their own intelligence chiefs and stuff. It's really crazy.
Look at England. It's an open air gulag. I don't know how else to describe the UK, but an open air gulag. 13,000 arrests just this year for what? For people. I mean, they're literally letting murderers and rapists out of prisons because they don't have enough room for people that said, "I don't like this guy," or "You're a muppet," or we got too many immigrants. Uh, what exactly offense did they commit? A thought crime. Okay, so that makes them a political prisoner. UK is the biggest holder of political prisoners in the world at this point.
Well, on that note, I think we already went a bit over time. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for taking the time. I always appreciate it. So thank you.
Same. Thanks, Glenn.